All right, we have made it to the promised land. We are in the top 8 cut now. So for this first top 8 game, we have IPingUListen, still love that name, my dude, and RiceFT. Both awesome players, both did very well in the tournament. So if you guys are looking for some high-quality, competitive Legends of Runeterra gameplay, you are in the right spot. Again, this is the Maverick Tournament League top 8 cut with myself and Haunts casting. The prize for first place in this tournament was $50, so we will see after going through these top 8 matches who ended up taking that home. All right, well, that was quick because it looks like IPingUListen is about to get into the game. So we're going to swing it on over to his stream real quick. And it looks like he's starting off with Freljord Shadow Isles, which I am going to go out on a limb here and just guess, without having the deck list up, that it's They Who Endure.
Yep, that's the one he brought in earlier. Fully expect it as well. Okay, actually, since we're starting, before we queue into these decks, since the game hasn't started yet, what are your thoughts on having a no-ban top cut?
A no-ban top cut.
So instead of playing one ban best of 3s, having best of 5s for all of top cut.
Having best of 5s for all top cut. I'm not against it. I actually do think as you get closer to like the winner, I do think that more matches should be played because, you know, it is a card game and there's a lot of randomness involved. But, you know, time is always an issue. So it's all just about how long people want to be, you know, playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of thought of that because, like, you know, we see in like bigger, like other games like Smash and stuff like that, right? Where they make it like a best of 4, like a best of 5 in finals, or like a best of 7. Like they just up the matches one just so there's more room for play, right? And I've always thought that like that could be interesting going into some of these tournaments, since, you know, it's not we don't see it too often.
I will say maybe you could take it into consideration that maybe just the finals, at least for now, is you know, best of 5. That might be something cool to consider. But yeah, I do agree. Having more games towards the final cut is definitely good. And no, this is not the final, Shapur. This is the top 8. We are doing IPingUListen versus RiceFT.
And, you know, pretty standard hand to start out for IPingUListen. He's pretty much enjoying it. RiceFT also has that 1-drop Dredgers to kind of start that snowball into the deep. So I think he's pretty happy to see it as well. He's considering to play this Ravenous Butcher. I actually would have attacked with this Avaricious Sentry. I would have personally liked that attack.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he might have wanted to save it. Maybe to get this Ravenous Butcher off, just to make sure he has a guaranteed target for it. I mean, he does have the... Yeah, actually, that makes more sense. He only has a Ravenous Butcher and a Blighted Caretaker to really play besides the Callista, so he probably needs some sort of unit in the future as tribute. I imagine he'll let this attack through as well. Maybe drop the Callista this turn and then go into his attack turn, playing the Caretaker and the Butcher.
Sure. So I'm just re-pulling up some deck lists for these guys.
I'm doing the exact same. Yeah, I get the deep deck up for him. We got this They Who Endure. His so RiceFT, I don't think we've seen his deep deck today, but interestingly enough, he's playing 2 Ruination, which is not usually what we've been seeing. We've been seeing Vengeances, maybe 1 Ruination, but even this tournament, I have not really seen that. So very interesting to see 2 Ruinations on the part of RiceFT.
Yeah, I think I prefer multiple copies of removals in this deep deck, just because, like, you know, if you toss the 1 Ruination off of just like, you know, a Dredgers or, you know, any toss effect, right? That feels really bad, especially when you need it in the matchup. So having multiple copies of those removals definitely feels a little better. Makes it a little more safe to toss 1.
Yeah, and it looks like he did decide to go with the Blighted Caretaker here, and I just can't get over how solid of like an early game card this is. And even, you know, for such a low cost card, it does have such a high impact late in the game, because having 2 attack challengers is just super valuable, like in almost any matchup.
Yeah, and he's able to level up the Callista off of just 1 Blighted Caretaker effect, which is really important here in my opinion. I just attack with everything. You know, pull in this Dreg Dredgers. I think he's a little wary of what Rice has here to start. I'm curious what Rice has as removal outside of this Vengeance. Sorry, those Ruinations that you mentioned, and it doesn't seem like he has much. He has that double Atrocity, but that's about it.
He's got the Devourers too. I mean, which is standard in any deep deck, but like, I just feel it's so weird to not see Vengeance in there. I think Vengeance is super strong right now, with just the way that we've seen this tournament kind of pan out thus far. So I'm curious to see if that really affects this game. And like, one of the perfect examples is when you're playing against a They Who Endure deck, being able to Vengeance a They Who Endure is super powerful. Ruination does not feel impactful at all against They Who Endure because your opponent will just chain Atrocity to it 9 times out of 10 if they're playing around that. So
now Maokai's feeling pretty good. He gets these saplings level ups, and those saplings over the course of 2 turns, he's gonna be able to deal with this Callista pretty easily.
Yeah, listen. There's a consideration to hopefully level this Maokai like super fast and just mill the Atrocities. Like, it just fingers crossed that your opponent doesn't end up drawing any. But IPingUListen already has the They Who Endure in his hand, so it's highly unlikely he doesn't draw one by the time Maokai goes off. I can't get over that Gangplank game we saw earlier with the Vile Feasts. Like, I want to see more 3 damage Vile Feasts. Like, where's Gangplank at? All right.
That's fair for sure. I'm definitely excited to see it myself. So, God, this matchup, I feel like it from what we saw before, obviously, right? This definitely leans into the favor of the They Who Endure list for sure. But yeah. I want to see how the deep deck gets out of this situation, right? Like, especially staring down this Callista, it's only turn 5, turn 6, like at turn 5, right? How do you deal with this pressure? Like, it seems like you have to draw like every early game card in the book.
Yeah, and then you basically have to play towards a Ruination, and just hope that, like, I guess at this point RiceFT is really hoping that IPingUListen just commits heavily to the board, which honestly, with a Callista and an Everglade Collector, this is not a half bad Ruination. He needs to hope that he can get off a good Ruination. And just kind of play from there, because I think at this point RiceFT is going to be looking to do a similar strategy as IPingUListen, which is Atrocity. I mean, he's playing the Atrocity. He's got that cool, 13-13 Nautilus when it hits the field. So, he's basically trying to do the same thing, and I just think that They Who Endure does it so much better.
Yeah, but is that even fast enough at this point? Yeah, he could Ruination next turn if he has it, right? He obviously has to save all that spell mana, but if IPingUListen just open attacks here, like, what do you do? it's so much damage, especially with that Callista.
Yeah, and and he is deciding to open attack, which is just, that feels so bad. So even with the Ruination, it's just such a bad trade for RiceFT. I just think Ruination, man, it's to reference Yu-Gi-Oh again, Dark Hole. Everybody loves a good Dark Hole. And it's needed for the game, I think, but it just doesn't really, at a slow speed, it just doesn't have nearly as much of an impact as I think it used to in early beta.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. There was a 1 in 3 chance he pulls the Avaros and Sentry over the 2 saplings. What a draw! Like, what a luck hit there, man. Like.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Getting this Sentry is, like, insane. All right, cool. I'll take that nice, sweet, free card to my hand, like, any day.
Jeez.
And at this point, I think that, RiceFT definitely needs this Maokai to stick. So the problem is, even if he plays Ruination, it's like, all right, bye-bye Maokai. So do you really want to do that? He could have another Maokai in his hand. All right, it does look like he's going for the Jettison, and it's 15 out of 25, so that would be 19 out of 25 for the Maokai. So, all right, and he is deep, so he might actually be able to get a very quickly leveled Maokai here, which is going to be huge for him. Ooh, okay.
And he has this Obliterate. He has the potential to play Nautilus next turn. And this is where it starts getting a little rough here, right?
Oh yeah.
For IPingUListen, getting that early is pretty annoying. He does have have the Glimpse Beyond to deal with this Obliterate effect, so he does get a few draws off. He may even be able to find an Atrocity here, and if he does, this might even seal the game.
All right, listen. If this doesn't support Neverglade Collector, getting some sort of hit somewhere, like he prioritized the Collector over a leveled Callista. Like that just shows you how amazing Neverglade Collector is as a card.
Yeah. Oh, and he got 2 Vile Feasts off of the draws there to clear this Maokai before it levels up.
Yeah, that feels really bad for RiceFT. That's obviously something he was not playing around.
Mm-hmm. Not something you really do play around.
No.
That's a 2-for-1. Obviously, it's fantastic for Rice in some sense, but like you want this Maokai to stick.
Yeah, and you can never really play around something like that. Like you said, you're never thinking your opponent has both cards. But you do always assume that there's they who endure an atrocity. That's the only situation where you just always assume that your opponent has those cards and you're gonna lose the game, like every single time.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually did a very quick Google search for Sap Magic because I forgot how much mana Sap Magic costs. It was like, what if there is some random universe where he has the second Maokai?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Still think Sap Magic should heal Nexus as well. Just throwing that one out there. It's like, why not?
Not gonna lie, Sap Magic is
pretty bad.
Not the card I assumed to be on the back end of that Maokai.
Yeah.
Like, usually there are some pretty impactful spells attached to these champions. Like Riptide, like even like Karma's spell, the Enlighten, like just to get the extra spells. Like they're all so good, but Sap Magic, really? Like that's like the most underwhelming champion spell.
Oh my god. So he actually is going to get a really good swing in here. I mean, obviously he can chump block the 7/7. That is one of the advantages that the deep deck has against the Endure, which is these elusive units. So he's really, IPingUListen is really going to have to prioritize removing that Abyssal Eye now, because if he can't, he's basically got like 2 or 3 more turns and he'll be dead.
Yeah. I mean, really, he just needs this Atrocity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I just said yeah, like just in a serious tone, like yeah, I definitely agree with that comment. Like yeah, said every they who endure player ever to play the game. Like,
yeah, it's really just like, hey, if I have the Atrocity, I need the day who endure. If I have the day who endure, I need the Atrocity. Right?
Like, if I could just draw that card that wins me the game, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, I mean, you look at the field, and it's honestly very even, I think, right now. But the problem is, IPingUListen has the 2 Cursed Keepers. So even a Ruination, like, RiceFT is in a really weird spot where he doesn't want a Ruination because of the Cursed Keepers, and he has his own units. But this Callista is really threatening and isn't going to die anytime soon. So it's like, what do you do about this Callista at this point?
I think IPingUListen even, like, went through the whole card list just now.
Yep.
Just to, like... Did he toss Ruinations? Did he toss Ruinations? Did he toss and that's why you see, like, he's not even gonna glimpse beyond one of these Cursed Keepers, right? He's gonna choose a 1/1 instead, just so he has that board fill up. So he has this extra boost.
Yeah, and those are basically his insurance policy right now. Anything happens, you get a nice couple of 4/4s on the board. Wow. All right. Well.
Okay. Yep. That's a lot.
Those are big. Those are pretty big. This just now occurred to me. There is a world where they might actually make They Who Endure cost more in the patch.
That's fair.
I think everybody, I don't know. I feel like that would be a little bit of a different way to approach nerfing this deck a little bit, but
I think nerfing it so the combo costs like slightly more, so it's harder to squeeze in a full, They Who Endure and Atrocity in a turn is definitely a good potential nerf.
Yeah, because then that's a good point. It makes it cost 13, which is max that you can get in 1 turn. So I think that's definitely something to consider as well. We do have this Callista going in. Does it? No, it doesn't show you. When you hover over the eye, I didn't catch that. Does it show anything?
It shows you which monster gets summoned off of Callista.
Wow, really? That's interesting. Okay. Wow, that's it's always nice to get a free 5-cost Neverglade Collector. Wow, and it's last too. Like that's so much heal. Like that's. Oh wait, okay, never mind. It gets killed because of that. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was gonna be like, damn, that's gonna be really bad for RiceFT.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think,
actually surprised he didn't play the Neverglade Collector just to start.
well, yeah, and I think that's why he just gave the Darius emote, because I think he did what I just did, thinking that he'd get the Neverglade Collector procs, and then realize, oh no, wait, it dies because of the Callista block. So
Yeah. Ooh, second Maokai coming out too. It's 2 off. That's crazy.
yeah, and listen, I mean, he'll be able to get the level, and most likely, there's a pretty good probability he'll get rid of the atrocities. The problem is now, how do you get rid of 2 They Who Endures? So maybe that's what he's relying on right now. I mean, there's a world right now where RiceFT, if he is able to get Maokai off, and he is sitting on 2 Ruination, he doesn't really care when anything is played after the Maokai goes off, because he can just Ruination the first They Who Endure and then Ruination the second They Who Endure. So he might actually be in a good spot at this point.
Mm-hmm. There's one of them though.
Oh yeah.
One of the Ruinations gets tossed there. Maokai gets the level up. And well, goodbye to your deck, right?
Now I think that's key though, right? He did get rid of 1 Ruination. Mm-hmm. So there's still 1 left, and as of now, pretty sure that's really the only way he can get rid of a They Who Endure, right?
Yeah, if I'm Rice here though, I want to see. Oh, that's 2 of his atrocities tossed. Sorry. Yeah, that's 2 of his atrocities tossed. Does he only run 2?
Yeah, he's only running 2.
He doesn't have atrocities left.
So he has to rely on this Ruination to do some work here. And I will say he could block one of the They Who... Oh, God. Out of all the cards that were 3 They Who Endure, 0 atrocity. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing right now. I guess we'll see in a second.
Honestly, it could be a good thing.
Yeah.
This overwhelm damage is incredible, right? I'm actually surprised that he ended up playing, a Bark. Like, I would have just dropped one of these 2 They Who Endures early on, right? I think with this Nautilus also, he now has to drop one of these They Who Endures.
Yeah, Vincenzo said both Ruinations are out of his deck in chat. So, wrong Callista placement. Vodka Butt said back on that turn where he Darius emoted. So yeah, that makes sense. So the Nautilus will definitely help prevent this They Who Endure a little bit, but I think these are going to be super big They Who Endures after this turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good use of Sejuani to kind of slow down the game with that Frostbite.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on a turn timer, like regardless, either with this elusive minion on board or with just the number of cards left in his deck, right? Like he has to start thinking about like how does he get back into this? Like how does he stabilize and just win the game before 3 more elusive hits hit his face.
And I have a sound for challenging. And now I'm gonna start using this.
Get over here!
It's Scorpions Get Over Here. So every time
Nice.
somebody challenges a unit now, I think I'm gonna use that.
It's a good one. It's a good one for sure.
Nice. So the Neverglade Collector's still alive too, and that's the pain in the ass right now for RiceFT, right? It's like even at some point if he's able to do some damage, if he can't get rid of this Neverglade, which is he? Okay, here we go. There's the Neverglade gone. So that's definitely good for him. I guess the concern now is... Yeah, I'm trying to just like picture in my head how these next couple of turns play out, right? Like, because it's always interesting at the end of deep games. There's very specific interactions, especially with like Nautilus and Riptide. There's only so many ways that this game can actually go. I don't think he has a Shipwreck Hoarder, which is probably going to come into consideration here in the next couple of turns as he gets the treasures off. Mm-hmm. So RiceFT, assuming he can get enough like heal off on the next couple of turns, should be able to win. But I don't know if there's enough heal to actually get through 3 They Who Endures at this point. But I also don't know if IPingUListen playing 1 They Who Endure at a 13-13 is kind of gonna screw him over a little bit.
Yeah, because now the Nautilus can just block it out here, right, and still survive with that tough ability.
That's big.
So definitely rough overall. I'm surprised he doesn't go with the Sejuani attack either. You want that challenge, that overwhelm damage basically, right? The opponent's sitting at 9. You got to start putting some more damage onto the board here.
Yeah, no vengeance in the deck. Lone Unico, so there is no chance that he's able to get one of those down. Okay, so it's so funny too. These cursed keepers have literally been on the field for like what, 8 turns now? So
Yeah.
it's like, all right, there's the shipwreck hoarder. So that's a big deal for RiceFT. The units will be big enough now to block the They Who Endures and not take, too much trample damage.
For sure.
It's not huge really that the Nautilus is still alive, because at 1 health he'll still take a lot of damage. So at this point, an 8 health blocker, a 7 health blocker, you're looking at, if they're 14/14s, that's 6 and 7.
I think that's just game, right? He just doesn't have enough blockers here for this upcoming turn. Yeah.
Wow.
I was initially thinking like, hey, those 2 double Abyssal Eye tosses is pretty rough, because he could just play another Abyssal Eye and close the game, but especially since those Curse Keepers can't block, they really just didn't do anything in the game.
Yeah, and the They Who Endure deck is just, it's very surprising there that the They Who Endure was not just able to really get its footing throughout that game. The deep deck with no vengeance, no real good way to counter They Who Endures if they came out early, ended up taking it home. And I don't know, the Ruinations we never really got to see do anything, so we don't know if those would have been impactful or not. Again, definitely a different choice. Have not seen Ruinations in a lot of the deep decks lately, so but it won, and that's what matters at the end of the day. So maybe RiceFT, he's got a plan that is working out for him right now against these They Who Endure decks.
Yeah, and looking at IPingUListen, he looks like he's going to be queuing up the championless elusive burn, basically. So what I'm assuming now is that his Heimer Lux deck got banned out, which is pretty control heavy deck, so I can see why it got banned out. I'm assuming on his opponent's side the Ezreal Karma gets banned out, so we most likely see a Swain Sejuani deck queued up here, which is not a combo we get to see too often. It's pretty aggro heavy, has that Crimson Imperial Demolition as Crimson Disciple package in, and a lot of interesting cards. Gives the Leviathan, but City Breaker too, which is not one we get to see too often.
City Breaker is a card that, I don't know, I've been up and down on that card. I'm not sure how I like it. I definitely like the card design. I think it's an interesting card. I'm not sure it really has a huge place in the metagame as it currently stands. It feels a little slow. It kind of feels, it gives you that Yasuo vibe, with like Yasuo not really being the greatest card since his release, or it just seems a little bit too slow to really be super effective. But I don't know, we'll see here with this game. Game 2, RiceFT currently up 1-0 against IPingUListen.
Yeah, so yep, exactly the matchup I was expecting. Not surprised that this Ezreal Karma gets banned out by his opponent. I really like this Swain Sejuani deck. The more I look at it, right, like it has a really good early game package of being able to get into that chip damage, with that kind of what we would assume is in mostly just aggro decks, right? That Crimson Disciple and Pure Demolitionist, but it rounds out very well in the late game with the Leviathans, with the Swains, with the Sejuanis. It feels, it feels really smooth, like a really overall good mid range deck. Yeah, and on the side of this elusive burn, it's not happy that you're drawing your 1-drop on your turn 2. Definitely feels a little rough, and you have your Disciple in hand, but
we lost Haunts there for a second, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, man.
All right, we are back. Sorry about that.
No worries. Discord doing a little bit of a freak out there.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
So yeah, I don't know where I got cut off there on the cast, but it looks like a pretty solid back and forth turns for both of these guys. Unfortunately for IPingUListen, he gets his 1-drop on turn 2. He has the Crimson Disciple in hand to play, but No, the transfusion is his only activator for that, so it's not like the best. He could play his solitary monk out this turn though, which I think is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I can't get enough of this deck, honestly. Like, everybody, loves playing Burn Aggro, right? We love playing against that deck, and it's very feels bad deck to play against, very trolly deck. This deck, I think, is better than Burn Aggro, personally, and I think it's a lot more fun, too, just in the way that it interacts and the way that the cards interact with each other as the combo potential. Getting Imperial Demolitionist back to your hand on multiple Crimson Disciple procs feels pretty good. You were talking about the Twin Disciples earlier. You could even make your Crimson Disciples bigger and better, so I very much like this deck, and I want to say that, I don't know, I want to say it does have the advantage in this matchup. What do you think?
I think so as well. But Rice definitely can curve out very, very well over the course of the next couple turns. Def's hand randomly onto the solitary monk is what confuses me the most. I guess if there's some decent way to get into some like one chip damage down the line, sure. But so far, I feel like if Rice can hit like that mid to late game curve out that his opponent doesn't have, right? If he can hit the Sejuanis, the Leviathans, the Swains, he's gonna have a lot better time in the late game stages. Just because IPingUListen didn't have the best early game, right? Like he had to drop Precious Pet on 2. His opponent sitting at 18 health on turn 4 is not not great for the aggro deck.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Curious to see how the aggro deck goes over the next couple of turns here. I mean, this I love, honestly, the Ruthless Raider. I love this card in general. I love how it synergizes with pretty much all the Freljord cards, with being able to take the 1 damage, even the transfusion a lot of times. Do we know, is Rice playing transfusions in this deck?
I have to take a look.
I think I have.
He is not.
Okay.
He's playing Noxian Fervor, Ravenous Flock, Fury of the North, Death's Hand.
Oh, he went 3 of Leviathan too. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And I personally, I mean, I love this Swain Sejuani deck. I played a lot of this on ladder. It can be very aggressive early game, so I do think that IPingUListen is going to have to focus on keeping these elusive units alive, and I think that's why we see RiceFT here playing this Ravenous Flock on the Solitary Monk. Oh, wow. So he's actually not going to... Oh, yeah, he can't keep it alive anyways with the transfusion. So this makes sense to keep this Disciple alive and get some more procs off of it.
Yeah, honestly, though, I would have preferred to see this Noxian Fervor get played here. Get that extra damage off regardless. There isn't really a great answer to it. But obviously, in this case, your Disciple gets to live. You get some extra damage there. Yeah, and having an alive Disciple is always fantastic for the aggro deck.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the reasons he probably didn't want to play the Fervor here is it is still considered damage. Yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure Ice Cream Truck. He's asking if he did Transfusion the Monk, if it was up to 3 health, is it still considered damaged? Because technically that's full health, but yes, it is still considered damaged. I know I've thought that same thing millions of times in games. So, but the Noxian Fervor, I think he does want to save because he doesn't want it to get denied by something like a Death's Hand because his opponent was still on 3 mana. And having a Noxian Fervor denied it just feels so bad to not have the effect go off.
Yeah, would have to agree with you there. But now it gets to play that refreshed Crimson Disciple, immediately gets answered by Culling Strike. Such a incredible threat that card is, honestly, especially with stuff like Demolitionist, like Transfusion that we saw earlier. It's like it's hard to play around. Removing it the earlier is the better. Yeah, now we're going to turn 6, 14 health for RiceFT. I think he's feeling in a pretty good spot overall. As long as he can kind of slowly deal with these elusives turn after turn, he should be good to go. Obviously the Solitary Monk is definitely tough, being that 3 health. There's not too much in his deck that he can use to remove it, right? He does have, Death's Hand, but that's not the greatest. Noxian Fervor is okay, but
that works.
That also works. You are right, but that Frostbite only lasts for a round, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say too. I do agree. Like Death's Hand is like, it's okay, but not. Solitary Monk is pretty perfectly statted against this matchup because it's also outside of calling strike range with being 4 attack. So yeah, I mean, we already saw one Ravenous Flock come down. It is gonna start to be difficult to actually remove them. He is playing 2 Noxian Fervors as well, though. RiceFT. So that'd be another way that he could get rid of those units.
But do I really like using a Noxian Fervor on a monk? I mean, yeah, you have to at the end of the day, right? But most of the time you'd rather use the Noxian Fervor just to get that damage into the Nexus. So not the greatest game plan, but now Rice dropping his own Crimson Disciple, his opponent's gonna have to start worrying a little bit. But if this elusive hit goes through, technically, IPingUListen wins the game because he just plays another Decimate. It's game over.
He does have enough damage in hand to get the job done. So it's just about if he can live through this turn, which I think he has enough chump blockers to do it. This Sejuani, though, let's see. The Sejuani's going to push 5. Does he have game even with the chump block? No, because he can still use a solitary to block. But the problem is if he uses the solitary to block, it'll be more likely to be removed by something like Death's Hand.
Yeah, he's just going to have to block off the 4/4 and maybe like at the 1/1 just to make sure he lives in the situation.
Yeah, Dante in chat, I do agree. I do like Will of Ionia in this deck. Somebody had mentioned that it's kind of slow. It usually is used to allow you to live for another turn or two. And kind of an odd synergy way to use it is you can also recall stuff like Imperial Demolitionist. Like, you probably don't want to, but like it just is yet another out that you can have to sink more damage into your opponent. Or even, I mean, you can recall a lot of cards in this deck that will allow you to even the Navori Blade Scout, push through that extra 2 damage if your opponent doesn't have an answer to elusive. Those are really fringe scenarios, but and you can see here, he's playing the Will of Ionia on the Sejuani to do exactly that and be able to live another turn. And if you see how he's setting up the blocks, his opponent's only going to have less than 3 attack blockers left, which means he will be able to get this precious pet through. But we'll see what kind of response RiceFT has because he's at 4 mana. Oh, wow. I was going to say he must have something, but it does not look like it. So I'm curious to see maybe if he has a 3 attack unit come down like a Ruthless Raider.
Yeah, being at 7 health left over is pretty tough, but he needs to hit another attacking, right? Because otherwise it's not going to be a great situation. This just screams I have Ravenous Flock for next turn.
Yeah, probably. And he actually does have the Bjerg too, so I'm curious as to why he I guess it doesn't matter with how much damage that he's taking. So he does have a unit to block the Precious Pet, but it will trade with it. The Navori Conspirator. The Navori Conspirator is interesting because you can bounce the Solitary Monk and heal it so it'll get through. Okay, he's actually doing the Precious Pet, so we'll see if this works out.
Yeah, if you bounce the Solitary Monk and play the Solitary Monk, then it bounces the Conspirator, just like that weird.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, never mind. I was thinking completely backwards there. So, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, so he has to do this just to punch through the extra 2 damage and then probably follow it up with another Decimate 2. So, wow. So he might he might still have game depending on how this next play turns out. RiceFT is going to have to be really careful with how he plays his cards on the following turn. Because if he allows us Noxian Fervor to go off, that's going to end up being game for IPingUListen.
Yeah, I think you just play the Noxian Fervor now. Like, what's stopping you? You could just...
Ooh.
Not a huge fan of the Decimate here, though.
Well, could he have survived an open attack next turn if he waited to play the Decimate? I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. Especially with the Overwhelms on board. Definitely tougher to do that.
Yeah, Celine said then he won't get a Decimate through. So, yeah, I think you have to Decimate there and just hope that your Noxian Fervor goes off. I think that's kind of his only out at this point. Which, honestly, I don't feel too good about that. I don't really think... It's a very slim chance that RiceFT is going to not have something to prevent it. And it's like, what do? Do you play around? You got to play around what he hasn't played yet. It looks like his opponent has played 1 Culling Strike and 2 Death's Hand. He has 2 Culling Strikes, so he's 1 of each left.
Yeah, and he played 1 Ravenous Flock and no Noxian Fervors. So I think you Noxian Fervor your 2/2 then, just to play around the Ravenous Flock.
Well, yeah, but then you're vulnerable to culling strike, and yeah, I think 2/2 is the best option. But either way, I think it's equal probability of him having something because the solitary
strike
monk.
Death Hand too, yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually he's thinking his opponent. So this must be a read because this shows me that he's probably thinking his opponent has cullings that have been stuck in his hand because I don't think we've seen any. Or wait, did it? Sorry, it said it played one culling. One culling.
Yeah,
Okay.
one culling. Yeah.
So
on the Crimson Disciple earlier.
Yeah. So this is 100% read based. This is he reading his opponent's hand correctly in that he has a culling strike in hand, and it doesn't look like it. What do we got? Oh, he's got the Death's Hand. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yep. We're gonna give RiceFT the victory fair here.
Yep. Congratulations to RiceFT. I think that's a 2-0 in his favor.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and that's awesome for Rice, right? Like before we even went into this matchup, we said that Rice actually had lost the matchup to IPingUListen in earlier on. So congratulations to him to making it into the top 4 now. That does leave us at a bit of a troublesome issue.
Nope. So I am gonna get with RiceFT right now to do Discord. Awesome. So awesome. I think we should still be good. We're gonna go ahead and do the semifinals between. It looks like RiceFT is gonna be playing Wolf. So awesome. Let me get back to us real quick, but then we're probably gonna.
It
go
looks
on a
like
quick
he's already in Discord right now in the Maverick. So I'm gonna hop over there right now, make it a little easier for us. But yeah, we definitely should hop to a break just so you can get all that production side stuff set up.
So we will be back in probably about 5 minutes or so. So you guys sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, and it looks like RiceFT is going to be moving on. So definitely come back to the channel. Don't forget to turn on that bell and hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel so that you know when I release the next Top Cut videos. So until next time, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope this works for you, and peace out.